Welcome to the session. I'm so glad that you've been able to join us. And I think Reese is just joining us as well, which is fantastic. Hopefully everybody can see me, can see each other. Is that right? Fantastic. Okay, and we'll switch to a slightly different view. So today we want to talk about how do we get through the rest of the year, and it's pretty much almost 1st of December. So like literally we've just got a couple of weeks to go. So for those who don't know me, and I think I know everyone on the call, my name's Samantha. As of 2 weeks ago today, I am Dr. Samantha, which is incredibly exciting. So I'm a cognitive decision expert, and my PhD research was all about the micro decisions we make, especially when interacting with other people, based on context, the context that we're in, the context of the discussion that we're having with other people, as well as our personality and also psychological safety. So I'm still happy to talk about it, which is absolutely amazing after 5.5 years. So entering into this time of year, which is called the silly season, and there is a reason for that. It's kind of like a little bit of a battle at this time. So we've got to finish the year. We've still got things to do, but we're thinking about what we're going to do when we've got holidays. We're talking to people about, what we're going to do. We're having people over and Christmas parties and what we're going to cook. So there's this juxtaposition that we're having between, I've still got things that I do have to do and I have to be productive, but at the same time, I'm preparing to do other things. And so it's a really high cognitive load because we're switching between tasks, and that makes us less productive and it makes us really tired. So, what we want to do today, just for the next 45 minutes or so, is just try and give you a few tools that might help you finish the year with a little bit more clarity rather than feeling really chaotic. Please chuck anything into the chat, any questions in the chat as we go. So I think there are three main camps that people are in at the moment. And the first one is I am just holding on by the skin of my teeth. In this camp, there's an awful lot of memes around social media at the moment, which have just like they're absolutely hilarious, but I think they're so relatable. And I just wanted to share a couple of these memes because they make me laugh. So this one, are we missing any, are we low on anything? Will to live. Relatable. 2025 is going to be my year, me in October. So that's almost 2 months ago. I think there's a lot of people out there who feel like that at the moment. And there's this one, burnout was months ago. What is this? Ashes in the wind. You're just being blown along well after burnout. So this is a real camp that a lot of people are in at the moment, really just holding on by the skin of their teeth. The second one is they're kind of mentally already on leave. They're, every conversation they're having at work is about what are you doing? This is the presents I'm buying. This is the wrapping that I'm doing. This is what I'm going to cook, for Christmas lunch. So they're already mentally on leave. I was talking to someone on Tuesday to workshop, and she's leaving for the Solomon Islands I think she's leaving on Monday, and it's all she talked about. So to be productive when you're already in that space is really, really hard. And then the third one is you're just sprinting to the finish. You're trying to jam absolutely everything into every minute that you have. Now, we don't sit in one of these, like it's not a static state. We do move between all three. And I know certainly for me, the last couple of months with trying to, finish off my PhD, really, I have been in all three, and sometimes all three in an hour. So it can really, really fluctuate depending on what's going on. So I'd like to know from you in the chat, what camp are you finding you're in mostly at the moment? Because it will move around. Are you kind of just holding it together and trying to get through? Are you kind of already checked out, or are you trying to jam in as much as possible? So camp 1, 2, or 3. Camp, yep, sprinting, yeah, he's off. Camp 3, sprinting to the finish, yeah. I know and I think Tegan, holding it together but wishing you were sprinting is extra hard because you feel like you should be doing more, and you're probably beating yourself up because you're not doing as much as you should, but you kind of feel like you can't. It's absolutely exhausting. And Karen, you're just holding it together as well. So look, it's tough. So second question, where are you right now? So right now in the time zone that you're in, which camp are you in? And it might be the one that you've said, it might be a different one. If it's the same one, you can just type same. If it's different, then please type the camp that you're in. Same, yeah. Camp 3. Yes, same. Yeah. Okay, so I think knowing that there are different camps, knowing and being able to actually name what's going on for you at the moment can be really, really helpful. Friday-itis. Susan, this is like when things should be getting exciting because the weekend's coming, like you're so close. But I think that's a really interesting segue into what I want to talk about next. That whole, yes, it is Friday. Yes, the weekend's coming, but why isn't it feeling any better? So it's not you. It's just, it's the time of year that we're in. And I think also from a week perspective, it's not you. It's the fact that it's Friday just before the end of the working week. So, throughout the year, our levels of cognitive energy, they're not the same. They're not even. They really, really fluctuate. This is what my pattern looks like. It takes a while to ramp up. We have motivation, dips. There are, various times of the year. And this is obviously a smoothed out version of my levels of cognitive energy. There are little dips that come all the way along there, depending on what's going on. You've got to regulate your emotions. You've got lots of going on. Yes, reflective amount of public holidays per month. Absolutely. And I'd love to know, what does your cognitive energy pattern look like? And I don't know if this is something that you've ever thought of before, but I think it's an important thing to reflect on. What does your cognitive energy pattern look like during the year? Or even if that's too hard for you to even think about at this point, if you're in camp 1, what does it look like for a week? And actually just thinking about, where are your levels of cognitive energy as you progress through the week or the year, whatever that looks like. I want to give you 30 seconds to have a think about it and just really roughly draw what you think your graph would look like. And then if you're comfortable, I'd love you to share it. I need some thinking music, don't I? So I'm going to give you 30 seconds. You can pick a year, you can pick a week, you can pick a day. Hell, you can pick an hour if it's real bad. How's everyone going? Have you got something? Is anyone comfortable to hold up their picture of their cognitive energy levels and talk us through it just very, very quickly? You don't have to. It's an invitation. It's not an expectation.
I could probably share. Mine's on paint though. I don't know. Can I share or not? Probably not.
You can you share your screen?
Yeah.
Yeah, that might be a little bit
No, it might be a bit
hard.
difficult. I just did Monday to Friday and
Yeah,
I go hard Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Thursday, Friday I work from home. So
yeah.
it's all like the admin task. So I start like, yeah, go hard for the beginning of the week and then slow it down at the end.
Which is really interesting, Susan. And I wonder if that's a product of you going so hard on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday that actually you've kind of depleted some of your resources for the
Probably.
last 2 days. So
Yeah.
it could be because I think, some might argue, oh yeah, you're working from home, so of course your cognitive energy level is going to be low, but that might not be the case.
Still productive, but just all the big things, all the big meetings, all the big decisions I try and do at the beginning of the week. So the last end of the week, I can just ease into it, get it home and just like do all the project management admin tasks to get things prepared again for the next year, the next week.
Yes, which is probably like, that whole perception of time. So at this time of year, a week probably feels like a year. Legit. Now, Karen, I know that you tried to show us and it didn't quite work. Do you want to talk us through your kind of what your graph looks like? Oh, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yay. Um, like Susan, I did Monday to Friday, but it takes me a while to ramp up on a Monday after the
Mm,
weekend. So I go hard Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then by Friday, I'm ready for
love,
the weekend again.
yeah. And I think that it's really important for us to remember that different people have different patterns. And so, because of the way that our brains work as human beings, we assume everyone's like us and that everyone thinks like us. But that's not the case. And so, even just that quick illustration of, well, what does your week look like in terms of cognitive effort? And recognizing that different people have different patterns and that sometimes we need to question our assumptions that everybody is like us. So thank you for sharing. For everyone else, I hope that you kind of had a second to really think about, well, what does your pattern look like? Because that's going to help you manage your energy. It sounds very woohoo, doesn't it? But we're talking about cognitive energy, which probably reflects esoterical energy. Okay, so what's happening when we have those dips and it's hard to ramp up and we come down quickly is is we're actually trying to be something different than where we are. So where we are mentally. And when we try to be in a different camp, so if you're in camp one, but you're trying to be in normal camp, that's really exhausting. And if you're trying to be something where you're not, it's really exhausting. When you're just kind of holding it together, but you feel like you need to be like really focused and energetic, it's really hard. If you're mentally already you're on holiday, then kind of trying to focus and slow down can really feel like a battle. And when you're in camp three and you're really trying to jam in as much as possible, when you try to slow down and be considered and calm, it's really exhausting because you're actually having to apply more cognitive effort to something. This is because we're not being authentic to what's happening in our minds and our levels of cognitive energy. There is so much talk out there about what authentic means. And from a psychological perspective, which is obviously the perspective that I'm subscribing to, it just means that you're aware of your motivations and your preferences, and you are acting in alignment with that. That is all that it means. So when we act out of alignment with what's going on for us, our motivations and our preferences, our poor brains have to work so hard because what we're actually having to do is regulate our emotions. We're having to inhibit our impulses. We're having to pull ourselves back in check or push ourselves forward to maintain that coherence with something that we're not feeling. It's so much of an extra cognitive load, and that affects our ability to think, and that's going to impact the choices that we make. I was at an event a couple of weeks ago with the University of Queensland, and Professor Nicole Hartley was talking about this question, or this not question, this issue of authenticity. And the way that she described it was really interesting. She talked about authenticity being not only uh, who we are and knowing ourselves, but also what it is that we're trying to achieve. What's the outcome that we're trying to get? So I think that the best outcomes come from not necessarily choosing one over the other. I've just got to be where I'm at, and it doesn't matter the outcome that I'm trying to get. So not that, but also not this is the outcome that I get, and I've got to totally forget where I'm at right now. That's not a great outcome either. So it's the calibration or the balance between where you're at, where what your cognitive load is, but also what you're trying to achieve. And knowing that and planning around that and working around that can just help to scaffold your cognitive energy and where you need to be, and can help you be more calm, more considered, and to make better choices. So that's the aim of today: is how can we or what's a model that we can kind of use to calibrate between those two things, who we are and what it is that we're wanting to do. So that's the plan. So this is, as I was thinking about this is a little model that I put together. I think that this time of year, or indeed any time where you know your motivation and your cognitive energy is going to be low, so this is why doing that mapping is really helpful. You know, you need to have that balance. And so this time of year, let's call it, you know, Christmas, you know, holiday period. It's not just for balancing the finances, because we also have to do that at this time of year, right? Because everybody needs a present, you need to do an event, you've got lots of petrol driving around places. So, you know, your cognitive energy also really needs to be budgeted at this time, because you know there's going to be extra stress. So this little framework that I put together, actually, can you see? Have I not been showing my screen? Oh, there you go. Now can everyone see the screen? Fantastic. Let me show you what you missed. No, I don't think you missed anything apart from a picture of a boat. It's okay. Okay, so this is the little model that I put together. So prepare, participate, and recover. So in prepare, what that means is, what is it that you need to do to help you be able to show up really well in whatever the thing is that you've got to do. Second stage is participate. So how do you engage in whatever it is that you've got to do in a way that not only will align with where you're at, but also help you get the outcome that you're looking for. And then the third one is to look at, what is it that I'm going to need to do to try and almost reset my cognitive energy so that I can move on to the next thing. So that's the 3 steps. And so this is all about, what are the three steps that I can go through and think through and plan for, so that I can balance my cognitive energy. I'll talk you through each of them, but I just wanted to, I suppose, explain metaphorically, what does this look like? So for me, the metaphor that I thought of is, it's like cooking a meal. So, you know, when you prepare cooking a meal, you get all the ingredients, you set up the workspaces, you get all the pans that you're going to need, etc. And at this time, you're also thinking about how you're going to cook it. You're thinking about timeframes. You're thinking about what the actual cooking is going to look like. So once you've done that preparation, you move into the cooking. So this is actually where you're doing things, you know, with doing things with the heat or the microwave sometimes, depending on how much energy you have. And then you move into recovery, which is, you know, how are you going to clean up? For example, you know, are you going to wash everything up right away before you eat, and then you don't have to worry about it? Or is it a matter of, I need to let everything cool down before I wipe things over? So you're thinking about that while you're preparing, but you're thinking ahead and you're doing that action so that you can reset all of your kitchen so that you can come in and you know, cook the next meal. So that's essentially what, I suppose, metaphorically, how I think about this model. But importantly, you need to be thinking about all 3 of those steps in that preparation stage. Any questions so far, please? You can either unmute yourself or chuck something into the chat. Otherwise, I'll keep going. So I think the first thing to do with preparation is to look at where's your energy. So this is finding out where you are authentically. Where's your energy, and what's the outcome that you're looking for? So when you think about something that you've got going on, looking at it almost from a, which box can I put this in to help me identify how much thinking do I need to put into this? And everybody loves a 2x2 matrix. And so this is one that I put together as an easy way to kind of work out, you know, what might I need to do with this particular task or interaction to help me manage my energy. So 4 quadrants. Number 1 is low impact and low energy cost. So we might need these. So on the vertical, we have a situation impact. So how much is this going to matter? And that might be about relationships, reputation, progress, whatever might be relevant. And on the horizontal, we have energy costs. So how much is this going to cost me based on what I know of myself? So quadrant 1, low impact, low energy. So these might be kind of more routine tasks, low risk meetings, people you meet with a lot and you know you get on really well with, might fit into that box. Quadrant 2, we have there's high impact and a low energy cost. So leverage your strengths. So for you, this is kind of like your natural style, and it's a great place for you to be because you get great outcomes and you don't actually have to use a lot of energy to get it. Quadrant 3, low impact, high energy cost. Like these are things that you want to minimize at all costs because they don't really make much of a difference and they cost a lot of energy for you. So these are interactions. They don't really matter, but they're very, very draining. So anything that's admin heavy, maybe if there's an unclear meeting, you've been called into a 3 or 4 hour meeting and there's no agenda, like that would fit in that box. That's well, for me, that's draining. And then in the fourth, we have a strategic investment. So that is something that, yes, is going to have a high impact, but it's also going to cost you a lot of energy. And so this might be like a really crucial or robust conversation with someone. Maybe it's negotiations. So I think that being able to put whatever you've got going on into one of these boxes can help you figure out, how much do I need to plan for this? How much do I need to manage my energy? Any questions about that so far? No? Make sense? Does everyone love a 2x2? Yeah? Nice and simple. And you would have came. Okay, so I'm going to talk through each of those 3 parts of the model, and each of them has some reflection questions, so things for you to be thinking about. And then also, based on what you've identified in your reflection, what might be some actions that you want to put in place to help you be able to show up the best. So the first one is preparation. So questions to consider. What will this cost me? Have I ever been in something like this before? What's it going to mean for me? Is there anything that I should set up early, some kind of boundaries for myself or expectations for myself or for other people, so that I can make sure that I can be my best? What assumptions do I have going into this? So, for example, if you had maybe a tense interaction with someone the last time you caught up, you might be assuming you're going to walk into that tense again. So if you walk into that tense, then it's going to be tense because that's the vibe you're giving off as you come in. And I think that question of, what vibe are you giving off is really important. People kind of think, vibes, that's a bit woohoo, but actually it's not. So, neuroscientists have confirmed the synchrony or the contagion of how we're coming across. So if we are feeling calm, then that will infect, if you like, other people, and the calmness will become synchronized. If we walk in and we're tense and we're upset and we're angry, it's going to do the same thing. So there is that contagion. So checking your assumptions and making sure that you're walking in without anything that's going to negatively impact the room will be really important. And then what is the version of me that needs to show up in this? And is that the person who I want to be leading this? So this question is all about reflecting in advance to figure out, how do you set yourself up for success? So some examples of what the actions might be, setting up some of those boundaries and communicating them and expectations. So, that might be something like, I've got a hard stop at 12. Or, I've got a 12 o'clock, so I need to leave 5 minutes early. So setting up those boundaries in advance will be helpful, and especially where you communicate them. It might be that if you're walking into something that you think is going to be tense, take 2 minutes for yourself and just do some breathing. So there's a number of things that you can do to set yourself up for success, but this all has to come out before you walk in. So this is all about the preparation stage. When you're thinking about what might be the best actions for you, other things for you to consider might be the characteristics of whatever you're going into or whatever you're doing. Is there a new person that you're working with? Is it a difficult person? Is it a stressful thing? For example, if you're looking at a stressful decision that you need to make yourself, think about that, and how am I going to be thinking about this before I even walk into it? So it doesn't even have to be something that you're doing with other people. It can be something that you're doing yourself. How do you normally respond in those situations? So that you can set yourself up for success. So that's preparation. That's the first part of the framework. The second one is participation. So you're thinking in advance about how you're going to participate in whatever the thing is that you're doing. So this is all about how are you going to engage in a way that's going to align with who you are at that time and what is it that you're wanting to get. So there's some reflection questions there. How can I participate? What's the way that I think that I need to participate that's going to give me the calibration between those two things? Thinking about your tone, your pace, and your presence. So actually, how do I want to be seen and heard to be able to get the point across that I want? And thinking about if there's something maybe where you've had some negative reactions before, how can you make sure that you're responding rather than reacting? So some other reflection questions there for you to think about in advance about how you want to participate in whatever that activity is that you're doing, whether it's with yourself or with other people. And some actions might be, or things that you might want to put in place, is to set yourself, okay, I want to use a steady tone and pace. I want to try and regulate the room and get that synchronicity and calmness. I want to be that calmness. In the room, you can actually, if it's a room or even if it's with yourself, name what it is that you're trying to achieve. And that way you're actually communicating out there and you're setting the tone and the pace. Even if it's yourself, this is really helpful because surprisingly, we do listen to ourselves. There's a lot of research about this, especially around negative self-talk and positive self-talk. So we do listen to ourselves. Silence is okay. Make a commitment to yourself. I actually did this about 15 years ago because I felt like I was filling silence in conversations. And so I made a commitment to myself that if silence was happening, that I would just let it go, just let it sit. And I still do that to this day. It's almost kind of like a game now. Let's see who fills the silence first, but it's not going to be me. So if that's something that you find yourself doing, kind of filling silence, and give yourself a challenge. So there are actions that you can do. Put a plan in place and try and stick to it as much as you can. And this way, when you put this plan in place, you're going to be able to get the outcomes that you want with minimal cognitive energy spent, because that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to maintain your cognitive energy. So that's participation. And then the third one is recover. And this is all about how do I replenish the effort, the cognitive effort that I've lost from doing this. So this will be especially important if any of the things that you're doing are in those two right-hand boxes of that quadrant. So how do I reset my energy? And then also thinking about collecting some data for the next time you do this. As a data nerd, this is important. So what was it that cost me the most cognitive energy? What was the easiest part? What was the hardest part? What would I like to do differently next time? That's really important as part of recovery. Because if you've got it in your mind that you want to collect this, then you're going to be more likely to notice it. So asking these reflection questions about recovery in advance is really important. And the kind of actions you might want to put in place related to recovery is take a 2-minute walk just to turn off your threat system and turn back on your thinking system. Do a quick brain dump of your thoughts. So don't carry that cognitive energy and that cognitive load over to the rest of your day. Take some notes and get it out. So there are some actions that you can put in place to help you get back the energy that you've lost. So that is all of the 3 steps. So the preparing, the participate, and the recover. Does anyone have any questions before I keep going?
Good for me.
Sensational. So I think the key to getting through the rest of the year is really about thinking about how much cognitive energy things are going to take and putting a suitable amount of effort into trying to maintain as much cognitive energy as you can. So calibrating your energy. So if you've got something that's coming up that's in the keep it light box, I don't think you need to do much. This is about just you trying to be as efficient as possible because it's not going to cost you much. If there's something in quadrant 2 around where you're leveraging your strengths, like this is you and your flow. This is you getting great outcomes with minimal cognitive energy. So really lean in, squeeze as much value as you can out of it. If there's something that you're doing that's in minimize or modify in quadrant 3, so these are the drainers. You're being drained without an impact. So it's kind of like you're being sucked by a vampire. So if there's anything that you've identified that's in this box, just kind of ask yourself, do I need to do this? Do I need to do this way? Is there another way I can do it that will suck less of my energy? Try and keep it brief. Protect your energy, get in and get out as quickly as you can, because you know it's going to cost a lot. And quadrant 4, the strategic investment, these things really matter. They give you a good impact, but they are going to take a toll. So the best way to move through these is to set up really, really well. Spend some good time going through prepare, participate, recover, so that actually you're going to be able to protect your cognitive energy as much as possible. Because let's face it, you don't have one thing that you have to do and that's it all day. We don't have the luxury of being able to build in a lot of time around what we do in work and in life. Funny story that's not so funny, it's kind of sad, but back in my executive manager days, I actually had to have my assistant block in bathroom time into my diary, because I literally just had back to back meetings all day, every day. And that's really sad that you have to build in, I need 5 minutes here to go to the bathroom every 2 hours. That's really sad. So if you can think in advance, to make sure, and that, I suppose that was me thinking in advance, but it's a little bit sad, especially around those strategic investments of your cognitive energy. How can you really try and set yourself up for success? So you are being authentic. And remembering authentic just means I'm aware of my motivations and my preferences, and I'm going to act in alignment with them to get the outcomes that I'm looking for. So what's coming up for you in the next week or so? We've got a handout for you, which Janine is going to stick into the chat for you to download. But I'd love, in something that you've got coming up next week, maybe that fits into that strategic investment box of, yes, this is high impact, but it's going to cost me a lot of cognitive energy, or will to live, if you're going to be light on that as well, as per the meme earlier. And ask yourself, what does the right version of me need to be able to show up well, to get the outcomes that I'm looking for, importantly? How can I participate in a way that's going to align with my style as well as the outcome? And then what do I need to do afterwards to try and get back the energy that this has cost me? So some examples of things you might want to do in prepare might be, give yourself 2 minutes of quiet time beforehand. Maybe you want to feel really prepared by having read all the papers for the meeting, and give yourself time to do that. In terms of participate, actions might be something like, I'm going to make this boundary or this expectation up front that I've got a hard stop. For recover, it might be, I'm going to go for a walk for 2 minutes after this, or I'm going to go and get a coffee, even though coffee is going to, make you a bit jittery, or I'm going to have a debrief. I'm going to call Akeem, and I just need to do a debrief on this. So I'm going to set that up in advance. So something for you coming up in the next week. So this is a challenge for you. Apply this model. So this is hopefully you've had a chance to download the handout already, but this is what it looks like. There's the set of reflection questions and little boxes for you to put your actions that you're going to do to set you up for success. Apply this for something you've got coming up in the next week. What are some things that are going to be helpful for your future self? So, normally if there's something that maybe we haven't done as good as we could have, we say that's a problem for future Samantha. This is the opposite. How can you do something nice for future Samantha? Do the actions in whatever the thing is, and do the reflection and take notes and check in with how you felt. How did that affect your cognitive energy, maybe compared to last time you've done this? So I'm going to stick a 15-minute invite into your calendar at some point the week after next. If you don't want to check in with me, that's perfectly fine. Just decline the meeting. But if you'd like to talk about it and maybe troubleshoot anything that anything that happened, or just talk about this is what I learned, you know, how can I fine tune this, then that's a great opportunity to do it. So I guess a summary of what I do. So I do workshops. Everything I do is in the decision-making space, the cognitive decision-making space. So I run lots of workshops, and Karen, I've worked with your team. I do coaching. If there's anything that you've got coming up, or anyone that you know that's coming up that you really want to be able to make better choices. I do tailored decision-making frameworks and assessments. So for organizations or for teams or even for people to go, how do I make this easier for myself? I want to be able to make better decisions faster. And then I do some speaking and keynote. So if you know anybody who, or people or organizations who this would be helpful for, then please connect me, as I would love to meet them. Please ask me all of your questions. I think we still have a few minutes. We do.
Not really a question, Samantha, but I was just reflecting on your matrix and just thinking about where my energies lie as well. And so I was thinking of keep it light and minimize or modify is my Thursday, Friday, because and then I'm leveraging my strengths, and I love a Monday. I love getting into work on a Monday and setting myself up to I'm setting myself up Thursday, Friday to hit hard on Monday, and that's where I can use my strengths and my energy because I know I'm focused. I know what I need to do. It's going to set me up for the week. And then, I think I was just trying to sort of put your matrix in my week and keeping it light and minimize Thursday, Fridays, and then, calibrate my energy for the getting ready for the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, that's when all the meetings are and all the, big decisions and the workshops and the coming together. And so I was just trying to apply that matrix to sort of that work week.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly all this is about, is how can you be intentional about using your energy, your cognitive energy. That's all that this is about, because I think for most of us, we kind of just bumble through, and whatever invite goes into the diary is kind of what happens. And whatever happens is whatever happens. So just being a little bit more intentional and knowing what is something going to cost you, and how can you make sure that you're showing up the best, but also that you're going to be able to recoup the energy so that you can keep going. That's just all this is about. Thank you for sharing. Yeah. Any other questions or comments? You're muted, Karen. Bloody technology, hey?
I know, Friday.
I know.
One of the things that is really sapping my energy at the moment is that we're in the middle of a big project, and people are becoming emotionally exhausted because they're up against timelines. And it's really sucking my energy.
Yeah.
And it's trying to work through, I don't need to take that on, but I do need to help them work through it.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. And I think knowing that is sucking your energy, your cognitive energy, and more importantly, it's preventing you from doing the best job you can on other things, is what can I put into place to help me not take that on, or actually to help it be less energy. I've got something I've been working on, Karen, that I'll send to you. I know we kind of talked about it before around resilience, but actually techniques for having resilience conversations as a leader with my people. And how can I do that in a way that isn't ick and isn't awkward, but actually does a few things. So it acknowledges what someone is feeling and where they're at, but also it helps you be able to put response. I'm thinking of my words very carefully. Put the onus on them for the things that they need to do, as opposed to, well, I've told Karen about this and she's going to fix it for me, because that's draining, because you're trying to fix things for them or look for solutions for them when it's not your solution to action. But what you can do is support them in working out what the action should be. So I'll send you something on that.
Thanks.
Be helpful. Yeah. Any other questions or comments? Maybe something that you've found useful today?
I just think I was feeling very zapped today this morning. So it's been really useful just to reset and rethink about, where you want to spend your energy and how you want to spend your energy.
Yeah, absolutely, because it is yours to spend. So spend wisely. And that I think is an important point, is you can say no to things that you know are going to zap you if you've got something else going on. So if you've got something really big that's coming up that's in that strategic investment box, and someone brings in something that's maybe going to be a minimize and says, can you help me with this? Then know that if you do that, it's going to sap you for the big important thing that you need to do. So organizing yourself around your cognitive energy levels can be really helpful. And, at this time of year, there are so many things going on. You've got Christmas parties happening all over the place. You've got, hey, do you want to come over and have dinner with us? You've got, oh, can you just come into this meeting? Protect your energy, cognitive energy, and esoteric energy. Fantastic. Well, if there's no other questions or comments, I just want to say thank you for joining me today. I hope that it's been useful. And I look forward to hearing about how your challenges go and what you've been able to apply it to, and any insights that you've been able to generate from trying this as an experiment.